So, welcome to my presentation today. Well, most of us have read kind of at least one book in our life, right? It depends on different person who like reading kind of different books. Like you like reading science fiction book, other like reading romance, but other like reading kind of detective book. But the book I'm going to show you today is kind of totally different with everything you have read before. You may have heard it, but I believe that some of you haven't read it before, so today I'm going to review it to you. The book named Les Miserables, according to the French, and is written by Victor Hugo, one of the greatest writers in the French history. The book was written in the 1862, and right after it's been written, it has become one of the greatest novels in the 19th century, and also they call it an endless epic song of humanity. Let's start with our protagonist, Jean Valjean. He is a prisoner convicted of stealing a loaf of bread to feed his sister's 7 starving children, and because of that, he was sent to prison for 5 years. 5 years for just stealing kind of a small loaf of bread. It's to me and to you, it's just something kind of very small, but at that time, stealing was something very serious. And he tried to escape for many times, but he was caught and he was sent to prison for nearly 20 years. And at the fifth attempt that he succeeded, and after 19 years, he escaped from the prison. But after he escaped, he was rejected by all society for being a former convictor. So, kind of, he have no place to go, no money to spend. So, he encountered Bishop Muriel, who turned his life around and showing him mercy and encouraged him to become a new man. And 8 years later, Jean Valjean, and now he has assumed a new identity, is Monsieur Madeleine, and he's now become a rich man, and he's still trying his best to help all of the poor people that he met, and now he is trying to pursue an honest life that he promised to Bishop Muriel, and now he also have to hide himself from Jared, a fanatic police inspector, in pursuit to recapture Jean Valjean. As you can see, Jared. But at the same time he was running from Jared, he met Fantine, a beautiful girl, but he was dying after being fired from his factory. And she was forced to work as a prostitute to raise money for her daughter Cosette. And because her husband has left her and her daughter away, so yeah, she must raise her alone. Cosette is kind of a small, beautiful girl who is living with the evil 13-year family. And in order to raise money, she must sell her beautiful long hair and her white teeth for money to cure Cosette when she was sick. Jean Valjean met her at the time the most misery time of her life. And before she died, Jean Valjean has promised her to take care of Cosette, and he and Cosette fled from Javet's pursuit. Jean Valjean and Cosette run to the city of Paris. At the time that they arrived, the city of Paris kind of was crowded by the uprising of the labor force, led by Enjolras. And Jean Valjean and Cosette met Marius at a protest of the labor force. Marius immediately fell in love with Cosette, and now is a beautiful lady. And the love between them kind of keep growing, and yeah. And Javert, he's still not kind of giving up on pursuing Jean Valjean. He trying to kind of disguise and blend in the uprising, trying to catch Jin Baojin, but he was captured by the protesters. Jin Baojin rescued him from the hand of the protester and let him go. But that action suddenly made Jared trapped between the belief in the law and the belief in humans' kindness. So he has no choice but kill himself by jumping into the scene. Well, and in the end, Marius and Cosette married, and Jean Valjean revealed his true identity to them. Cosette cried in front of him, but Jean Valjean expressed his happiness being with his beloved daughter. Though he's not her kind of biological child, but she has considered Cosette to be his daughter for a long time ago. And he finally kept his promise to Bishop Muriel and Fantine. The promise to Bishop Muriel is to become an honest man, a man of honor. And the promise to Fantine is to take care of of Cosette, and he will give him happiness. And before his last breath, once again he saw Fantine, but she was covered in the holy light, totally different with the image of Fantine and the previous. Lonely girl, a misery one. Fantine held his hand and finally took him back to the arm of God. And then Jean Valjean died. And that's the end of the book. And just like Victor Hugo said about his masterpiece, adversity make man and prosperity make monster. As you can see very clearly in the book, is the protagonist, Jean Valjean. He is the embodiment of the conflict between the good and the evil inside every one of us. He was imprisoned for nearly 20 years for just stealing a loaf of bread. He was kind of denied by the entire society, but he chose to change himself. So why can't we change ourselves? We always have a choice, but do we have the courage to take that choice? And this book of Victor Hugo is also he will also imply on the character of Javert. Javert is a fanatic inspector trying to capture Jean Valjean. He is the representative for the rigid law of the France at the moment, a society with the flawless name, the City of Light. But that only exists in the name. Javert was obsessed with the capturing of Jean Valjean, and in the end, he again had to fight between the kindness of human, which is Jean Valjean, and the rule of the law, which is him. And finally, the love of the human has won. But at the same time, he cannot kind of bear the fact that he has committed a crime when he let Jean Valjean go. So he immersed himself into the scene as his own punishment. Another thing that we can see is the minor character of Fantine, a strange prostitute with a wavy hair and a mouth missing of the two front teeth. She was created by Victor Hugo as an immoral symbol of the motherhood. She would do anything to make sure that Cosette doesn't have a life like her. She was forced to the edge. She would have to sell her teeth, sell her honor, and even sell herself to raise her. And when the death came, she was still relieved because Jean Valjean promised that he would keep her daughter safe. And then she died. Cosette is the only female character in this book have a happy ending in the end. And this book is a story of the poor worker at the bottom of society, of France. They were denied by the old custom and the prejudice, but every single one of them carry a true beauty inside them. And Victor Hugo has said his main motivation of writing this book was to make it a social pleading. Pleading for what? If the unfortunate people and the criminals are considered the same, so whose fault is it? According to Victor Hugo, it's the fault of the misery, of the dictatorship, of the rotten society. He also pointed out the three biggest problems of the century: the degradation of man through pauperism, the corruption of women through hungers, and the crippling of children through the lack of light. And Les Miserables is a full picture of the corrupted French society at the 19th century, led by Napoleon I, and is also one of the best novels of Victor Hugo, the greatest writer in the history of France. He was a genius, as someone said, and according to me, all of you should try to read this book for at least once, and you will never be disappointed about it. This masterpiece is worth to read hundreds of times, and though hundreds of years has passed, but all of the value of this book is still maintained firmly. So that's the end of my presentation now. Thank you for listening.